And by just literally admitting on one phone call that I think I hate it right now. And it's not making me happy.
There's nothing like a TCC podcast, man.
One day, man, we're gonna make
There's a
it friends
place
here.
at Trinity Podcast Studios.
Yeah, Pierce near
Yeah.
Pierce Station.
That's how the conversation
That's
about
how the
podcast
conversation
started.
started. Yeah,
Yeah.
We walked past
we
it.
walked
and,
past it. Yeah. No, but hopefully we're gonna get some Lex Friedman posters here
Get a
behind you.
Get a green screen.
Oh man, we could.
And then you can put like a track. Or
Yeah,
for Cam,
we
you
can
can
put
just
whatever
put
we want.
America.
Or you were gonna put the picture of Matthew running like with the
There's actually
Crusader
I think
shirt.
there's a story behind that.
Uh-huh.
I just love always getting a really good finish line picture.
Oh,
And
you
one of my
posed.
friends, and one of the guys that's a photographer, Sam, he like knows. He's always like, I love taking pictures of the hurdles. So I always say like, I'll get you a good picture. If you
Yeah.
if you take a picture, I'll do something good.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were kind of posing?
Not posing, but like, I'll get into it.
I
But I just find
wouldn't have that face if I.
find like in football, there's like big personality, and like track and field kind of lacks that a little bit, and that's probably why like if you want to touch on like why it's not big in the media, and the TV
Yeah,
coverage
yeah.
is pretty awful.
We'll touch on that in a minute, but I remember that when we started the master, I was having a look on the WhatsApp group and checking people's images.
Yeah,
and
mine
a certain
was,
point
like,
I looked yours and I'm like,
screaming.
oh shit, this guy's gonna be a giga chat.
I thought you were Felipe Tortu.
Yeah,
There's another guy.
he
Right?
thought I was a runner from Italy, man. Because I had like, really
not just a
short hair.
runner, like
one of the
all-time
his
greatest Italian
competitors,
runners.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, man, then kick it off, please.
Yeah.
We're started.
Yeah.
Okay. So today we have the pleasure of speaking to Matthew Behan, a 26-year-old professional hurdle runner who has made a name for himself in the sport. He is 4 times national indoor champion, 2 times outdoor, ranking 112 worldwide in men 110-meter hurdle, and all of this while currently working a full-time job. Matthew, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. Excited to just chat and kind of see where things go, I suppose, today.
Was everything on point with the accolades?
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
We
great.
didn't embarrass you, right?
No,
Under
no,
10th
We
worldwide.
did our research, man. Yeah.
Don't worry.
It's funny because like on World Athletics, when someone checks you out, it says 3 times national champion, 4 times national indoor champion. But if I check on your Instagram, it says 5 times national champion.
I just added it all up.
Okay.
Well, that would be like
That would be 7.
7.
Well, it's like 4 indoors, 110 meters, and 1 400-meter hurdle. So it's like 6. There's an error on the World Athletics. It says it counts one of them twice, but I'm not gonna say.
Are you the person updating your World Athletics or
There.
That would be extremely like that's cheating.
If it was me, I'd put down like 25 times.
9.46 on 100 meters?
It's like 26-time national champion.
yeah. Would be kind of cool.
To
Yeah.
kick it off, maybe I want to know how did you start with professional hurdle running, and what inspired you to pursue this? Maybe I've heard online that you before hurdle running were doing something else, and then suddenly you switched. How did it all start?
Yeah, so like I've always been sporty. Where I live, like in Sandymount, Ringsend area, is like just such a sporty area. Like you have massive football teams, like in soccer, like CY from Ringsend. Then you had like the tradition of Shamrock Rovers, like originated there. And then my athletics club, Crusaders, like they have their own track. It's been there for like as long as I can remember. That track's been there, and like that's a huge club in Ireland. Like you have Olympic gold medalists who raced out that club. And then sports go like ESB swimming, so it's a really sporty area. So I was always just involved in sports from day one in soccer, and then swimming, and then through my primary school I was playing hurling, GAA. Like if I could play it, I did it.
With what age did you start?
Oh, like 4 years old I was playing football.
Wow.
And then I was swimming because my parents swam, and I really enjoyed it. But then as swimming gets more serious, like those guys, like you start getting up at 5 a.m. to train, and that's when you're 12 years old. And I was like, that's not for me. So I was playing soccer, and I was always really fast. So my mom and dad said, why don't you try like athletics? Like and I was like, I don't know. Like I'd never thought of like, oh, I'm looking at the track and field in the Olympics. That's what I want to do. Yeah. Like I never like understood like how to get into that. So I went down to tryouts after a soccer game because my soccer club and my athletics club are next door to each other. And yeah, I tried hurdles. The coach was like, "You kind of have a natural gift for this," like, and I was like, "Okay." And then we had a couple more goes, and I went down on that, I think the next Tuesday to train, and I literally never stopped.
12 years old, right?
12 years old,
It's quite.
tried out for hurdles, and it wasn't like I went into sprints and then hurdles. I just started hurdling at 12, and I was really small, but I just loved it.
Oh, interesting.
And then I played soccer and athletics up to 18, and then I gave up football and went to
How many times a week were you training to keep both?
probably 5 from like the age of like 14.
Were they making you do weights as well?
No,
Gym?
I didn't start gym until I was in like my final year of secondary school, and then got really serious with it when I went to university. Through scholarship, we had access then too.
Oh, because like your bachelor, you got a scholarship.
Yeah,
through
I had
running.
a scholarship on my bachelor's, and I had like access then to like strength and conditioning coaches, and then and then as I progressed and like made Irish teams, then you get like part of like the Irish squad, and then I had access to that S&C, and that's kind of brought me to where I am today.
Okay. And you ever thought about like while you were competing and like your process from 12 to 18th, were you thinking about making it a living or kind of being a
It's I always was like, there's a funny video of on our graduation from primary school when we're 12, we all like had to sit in front of a camera and say like what we want to do when we grow up, and everyone's saying everything, and I literally remember saying, I just want to be a professional sports person, and I don't care what sport it is. I just want to play sports professionally,
Curling.
and I have no interest in doing anything else. And then I think I caveated it by saying not tennis, which is so bad because tennis is amazing. I don't
is
watch
great,
it, but
man.
like, I don't watch much tennis, but it's such a great sport, and I don't know why at 12 years old I was
You were
like, not
beefing with
tennis.
tennis.
I think I had bad history, just I wasn't good at it, and if I
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
good at it,
okay.
I'm not doing it.
Cool, man. Yeah. No, probably I wanted to elaborate more on. You mentioned once when I met you, the last time that I met you for Cam's birthday, which we had him last time. You were mentioning that when you were 18 or so, you won the national for the first time. Was that the first time?
Yeah, so I hadn't won any national medals as a juvenile. So like athletics is split into like different age brackets. So juveniles is up until under 20s, which is when you turn 18.
Yeah.
And then it's classed as junior.
Yeah.
And then when you move from junior to under 23, but under 23 is essentially senior. So I'd never won a juvenile Irish title until I was 18. I was always quite small. I always was like outdone just like by the like bigger kids. Like I think it's normal, especially in sport. Like when you're a kid, it's just whoever's the biggest and fastest wins.
Okay.
But then as that starts
you're
to-
like
yeah.
on 400
Yeah,
meters max.
I was running 400-meter hurdles against guys who were like, I don't know, like I was like 5'5" and they're like 5'10".
Okay.
But then as things started to even out, I just never I never considered giving up. So yeah, it came down to that, and I was having a really good year, my final year of juvenile athletics. Like I think I was in 5th year in school, and yeah, I won my first title, and then that was just like a great feeling, and that kind of then set me up then for like my final year of school, and then I kind of knew that's what I wanted to do with it. But yeah, it took a long time till I was like 17, 18 to win an actual Irish title.
What happens after that? Because are you satisfied and you're like, okay, I won it?
Yeah.
The first feeling is like, I'm actually good with it, or just a couple of weeks after you're like, oh, now I want another one.
Yeah, it was like I remember winning and being like, okay, like I finally have conquered this.
Yeah.
But then you move into under 20s, and that just opens up a whole nother ball game of like the hurdles
With the big
the
guys.
hurdles just keep getting higher.
Yeah.
And then you kind of start opening up to like guys who are older than you, because under 20s is between 17 and 19. So then you're competing against older guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're obviously driven to win titles, but then I don't think I won a title again for another 2 years. Like I
Okay.
had a
2
rival,
years of work.
rival, Sam Healy. We're actually really close.
Okay. Is he in the Crusader team as
No, he competes out of Cork, and he was on scholarship in the States and does long jump. But me and him, for like 2 years as juniors, just like every race, no one knew who was going to win, and it was just unbelievable. Like to have that rivalry, but also
Healthy
that
competition.
and having another athlete who's on the same level as you, and the two of us pushing each other. Like we both ended up breaking like records in the same races, and then he won one title, then I won it the next year. Like it was just awesome.
Is he still competing right now?
Yeah, he competes in long
So
jump.
like this is still. Oh wait.
Yeah, he moved. He was a like phenomenally talented long jumper, and he moved into long jump.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Is
I
he
just
same
stuck with the
age as you?
hurdles. Yeah, we're the exact same age.
Ah, you were doing long jump, no? Or you've never done?
Yeah, so as a kid, you kind of do everything. So if you're good at like hurdles, you're usually a good jumper. You're probably quite springy, like off the ground. So I dabbled in high jump and long jump and a bit of multi events. Indoor multi events is like very easy to get away with if you're fast on a hurdler because it's the hurdles, a sprint,
Yeah.
2 jumps, and 1 throwing event. Like you don't need a throw, and you can just
Yeah.
do everything pretty well.
Yeah. It's kind of cool, man. Athletics, I've always seen it with lots of respect because there's a lot of discipline there. But I'm wondering how you cope with that sort of discipline when you are really young. Because usually, like, I always played football and then basketball when I was young, but I never thought about it with that sort of discipline that you had growing up. That 5 times a week training plus the race on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Probably when you are also from 16 onward, you have the nights out on Saturday, but then on Sunday you got the race. How does that work?
I think the discipline was like I came from like I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And that's like the key battle. If you've been forced into something and you don't want to do it, there's like it's gonna lead to issues with discipline and not really being fully committed. And I knew what I wanted to do, and I think I knew my parents never pushed me. They always said, look, if you enjoy it, we're gonna support you. But if this is really what you want to do, this is exactly what you need to do to achieve your goal. You're gonna have to be disciplined and committed. And yeah, I didn't really drink, so like by not drinking alcohol until I got when in my younger years, like I really stayed away from it until I was like 18, kind of gave me that advantage of being able to kind of like excel when I was developing. So that kind of puts down a really good foundation of discipline. But like it is tough. Like there's a lot of social occasions that I miss out on, or you're going out and you're going home early, especially in the summer. Like summer school ends, everyone's going out, and I'm racing like every weekend. And like it is tough, but like I think it just comes down to like once you have that goal, and once you know that what you want to achieve, it's a lot easier to be that disciplined.
Was it tough with your friends, with your group of friends, in a way where they were staying out during summer? You were that special one that said no.
No, I'm very lucky. I've had the same group of friends since I'm 5 years old. We all live beside each other, and like I've grown up with them. We've been through everything together, and they've always supported me fully. Like, and they'd keep an eye on me. They'd be like, "Here, look, like
You're drinking too much.
yeah, you
buddy.
need to chill out." Or,
Really?
They never
That's your
pressure.
third pint.
And they'd never pressure me to go. Like they never put pressure on me. If I like, look, I have to go. I have a race. They understand it, and they're there, and they'll watch it on the stream. Like they're backing me. So like I've always had that. I'm really lucky to have had that.
Are they also doing sports?
Not at this level, no. But they just, I suppose it's just like we're so close knit. Like everyone supports it.
Oh, you're lucky.
Yeah, but good. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have the same group of friends. Like when we were in our hometown. At least for me, man. I remember that even for getting my bachelor, my friends would bust my balls because I was maybe at home doing homeworks or preparing assignments, and we're like, why are you not hanging out with us? I was like, guys, I'm trying to get a degree here. So at least you got supportive friends. How was it for you?
I was expecting from Matthew to say, yeah, it was tough. I had to change group of friends from time to time. Then ended up with a group of friends that was very much into sports, because I think teenage years, from my experience, if I would have said that, I would have definitely be the weird one in the group. And I don't know if they would have left me, but for sure, I think in your teenage years, in general, you try to be as low key as possible, and if you're the notorious one that does something different, you'll get called out. Just the reality. So
Yeah, I think.
don't
I
you
agree.
think?
Yeah, like
You're not in your group. But
No, not in my group. I know I'm extremely lucky, and it's probably a bit of an outlier of a group. But yeah, in Ireland especially, like I find sometimes if you go against the grain or anything that's outside of the norm, you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I think it's not Ireland. It's just the world in general.
Yeah, and teenagers are just so harsh on each other. It's looking back, we're all horrible.
Yeah. And with the fact that you were like winning, of course, from the moment I known you, I noticed that everyone in Dublin seems to know you. Like yeah. Not in a way that you're like a popular person, but in a name that like your name is heard around. Like people know your name, And I always thought, is that something that you keep in the back of your mind, going like, oh, lots of people know me, I can't let them down, I gotta try to keep my not my popularity, but my winnings high, so that my name is still respected in running, in everything. Is that even a thing, or you don't give a shit?
I don't know. Like I think it's a bit flattering to say everyone knows me.
Yeah.
I think that just comes with the
every time
nature.
that I meet a person in Ireland, I go like, do you know Matthew Behan? They go like, yeah, of course.
I think that's just comes to the nature of Dublin. Like I'm a really outgoing person.
Yeah.
And like I love like
You
social
are, yeah.
occasions, and like I have like a big friend group, and because my friend group, we didn't all go to the same schools. We all were like friends from home. We all knew each other's friends from schools, and then we all played on football teams. And because we were across different age brackets, you kind of know people across like say 2 or 3 years either side of your age.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of like develops into that in your local area, and then you're just meeting other people. But like Dublin really is so small, and I suppose the people you meet probably know me because we know each other through college, and
Yeah, it could be.
that's how it ends. But no, I never really have. I think as a younger athlete, I did have in the back of my head like, oh, like a lot of people know, and like if you're trying to build an online presence, like you want to be competing well, and like it is hard. Like I think when I was like younger, and like this is stuff that I've probably never really like spoken out about with people, is like, yeah, there is a bit of like an edge where you're like, yeah, I have to be really good. Like I need to be good. I need to be cool. I got to keep up the credibility here. I can't be telling people I'm going home early and run terrible.
Yeah.
And that like is tough as a younger athlete. Like now I don't care. Now it's like I don't owe it to anyone. I don't owe it to anyone. I owe it to myself.
Yeah.
If I run bad because I was out, it's my fault for myself. It's not to just show off to people.
That's pretty good.
Maybe since you were in your teenage years and you were that weird one that was leaving early, you felt pressured to then prove
Yeah.
that it made sense to leave early.
Yeah. And like it's tough as well. Like I ran like so well. I remember like in my final year of school, 6th year, I remember going to the European under-20 championships, and I ran like I was in like the top 10 in Europe going, and I ran terrible over there because I put so much pressure on myself to be unbelievable that I just wasn't comfortable. Like if you look at footballers who are like at the peak, they're just having fun and they're just going out and doing it. They're not thinking about it. They're just enjoying it. And I didn't do that. I went over and was like, I have to be like top notch here, and I just ran terrible.
That's too much. Too much preparation.
Yeah,
fucks you up,
too
right?
much pressure, too much in my own head, and then that kind of just spiraled. Then I think a bit through college, like I got very intense with myself for a long time.
And can you develop that? Training too much, not
More in my
sacrificing too
head.
much?
I think it was more in my head. Like my psychological was like, I'm not training enough. I was. Oh no, this one little thing that I'm not doing is gonna be the answer, and it's not.
So
Yeah.
wait a sec. And right now, your mental state, where are you sitting? Are you putting too much pressure on yourself, working out too much, or your lazy ass?
Right now, I'd say I'm at the best mental state in track and field I've ever been.
That's great.
Which is kind of crazy to say, but I think only I'm able to admit that. Like from the outside, it might look like, okay, Matthew won national titles the past 3 years, but two of
In
them,
a row.
yeah.
Fuck
But
that.
I wasn't happy with them. I was happy with winning the titles, but the times I was running were terrible for where I want to be. Like I can run a time.
So the average is low.
Yeah, like it's like, okay, I won a title, which is I'm not trying to dismiss that. Like winning a national title last year is probably my greatest sporting achievement personally, because like I was 6-time silver medalist, and like I wanted to win my national title in the event that I do.
Yeah.
But sometimes the times didn't reflect my ability, whereas I know I can run at like a really high European final standard. When you're not running that, but you're still winning things, it's tough because you're like, okay, everyone's congratulating me for winning these things, but I'm not at the level I know where I should be. But that was down to my mental state. Like for about, like there was stuff going on in my personal life that were like really impacting my mental health. Like, yeah, like they were impacting my mental health. Like there was stuff going on, like I'm open enough to talk about it on a podcast. Like my parents got separated. That really impacted on it. But around that time I got injured, and I never had any serious injuries.
What was it, ACL?
No, I injured my pelvis.
What?
So yeah, I got inflammation in my pelvis.
How is it like
Just
somebody-
overuse.
Okay.
So I couldn't run for like 3 months, and I was like in like rehab basically with a physio like re-strengthen my hips.
I injured my pelvis. I used it too much, bro.
Yeah, it's just
Do not elaborate on that.
no, I get in trouble.
Yeah. No, and anything else?
Yeah, then I came back from that injury, and then I ended up in a boot because I got a stress fracture on my shin.
No, man.
So I was like, I came off one injury, and I kind of, even what was going on with my parents, I was like, okay, I'm able to deal with this. Then that impacted on me. Like, I didn't realize how emotional stress actually is just stress. So I got a stress fracture from emotional stress. I wasn't recovering from training because I was just the overall stress in my body was outrageous. Got a stress fracture. Then just was like devastated. I was like, I put in so much work to get back from this hip injury, and I was training really well. And I considered I was moving up to the 400-meter hurdles because I was like, I can't really 110 hurdle with my hips. So I'd changed event, and I was training really well. Got a stress fracture. Came back from the stress fracture. Was out of my boot, I think, 2 weeks, and then COVID happened.
Oh no.
And then you couldn't run for months.
No, so I was able to train like in a park, but I wasn't on a track. I had no hurdles. I was doing like a lot of fitness and home workouts, and like it was okay, but around that time, I started like everyone, like we'd have like once kind of lockdown started lifting, I was going out a lot more. There was no competitions. Like competitions just couldn't happen because of the rules. So I was going out with my mates, I was having a few beers in the back garden, and that just kind of became a cycle. But it opened me up to like this whole other life where I was like, this is like life without athletics, and I kind of like it, and I've never done it. So when you've never done that, it was very easy. I was like, I want to just experience this. And then I ran and I won the 400-meter hurdles national title out of nowhere. And I was like, oh my God.
When was this? After COVID?
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God.
Without training as much as you used to train.
I was like, this is unbelievable. But then my grandmother then died after like a couple of months later. I lost her. That was like devastating. Like she was just such an integral part of my life. And like me and her were so close, and we had such a close bond, and I'd always talk to her about like everything. And like small things like that I'd be struggling even in sport or life. She always had like the best advice, like very simple advice that would like calm me down. So losing her was like terrible. And that just like that kind of just compounded everything then. And then my mental health state just wasn't great. So then for like a year or two after that, I was training really well, but I was kind of like just going out with my friends a bit more. I was drinking a bit more, just kind of making poor choices that weren't helping my athletics. So then like you're overcompensating in training to like combat these things. And like I got a little bit heavier, and we're like, I don't know. I'd kind of fallen out of love with it all along, and I was kind of pretending I didn't fall out of love with the sport.
Such an emotional journey, man.
Yeah, like I definitely did fall out of love with it around that period, because even in the lead up to like going to Italy for where I injured my hip at that competition, my times still weren't great, and I was getting a bit stagnant. And then the kind of post-COVID period, I just wasn't great. And like I spoke to like sports psychologists, and then I worked with a great like psychologist on that. And then before my nationals last year, I think about 3 days before, I realized I was like, this sport is making me really anxious and really depressed, and it's not helping me get over the things that are like making me sad, anxious, and depressed. Like usually sports like that outlet. Sport was making it worse. And by admitting that to myself, I was able to take a step back. And that's what led me now to this year where I'm in like the best headspace I've been.
Wow, man.
Wait a second. Wait. How did you get to this sort of state then? Because it's such an emotional journey that brought you here.
So like how I think it really happened was, and I'll try to keep it in a short way. It's like you're a young athlete and you kind of burst onto the scene, and you like I set the junior record. Then you're building on it, and you put internal pressure on yourself to be like, now when I transition to senior level athletics, I should. And you're seeing guys you compete with just get faster when the hurdles get bigger, and I got a little bit slower. Then I won a national indoor title, my first one, and I beat a guy, Ben Reynolds, who was like, without a doubt, the best hurdler we've ever had.
The GOAT.
He's unbelievable, and I beat him pretty well. And it was it was a complete shock, an upset.
For the community.
Okay. So then I was like, in my head, I was like, everyone's expecting me to be like unbelievable.
one.
And it just never really happened. Like I got to like a certain level and then a couple of injuries happened. And then
Because maybe the injuries you think it happened because you put too much pressure
Yeah.
on yourself to prove that you were.
yeah. And like my coaches never put pressure on me, and she was always saying to me, she's like, once money, like sponsorships, and once like rewards like that get involved, the sport's gonna lose its fun. And I always like, nah, it's not gonna. It did.
Really?
It does, because like I was going to competitions like, oh, I'm gonna lose my I'm not gonna get sponsored
Oh,
if
so
I don't
you,
win
you
this.
have sponsors
No,
still?
no, I didn't.
Okay.
I was gonna lose my funding, or like, well, I ran terrible in Naples because that's where I injured my hip. My block slipped a little bit and I stretched it, and I ran awful. And the first thing I said on the phone was like, oh, I'm gonna lose. I'm not gonna get funded. And she was like, what are you talking about? She's like,
Why do you
that's
care?
if that's your one reaction to like a bad race, that means you're in the complete wrong frame of mind. And then I was going through that kind of reevaluation, and then I think it took 3 years to really realize like I was burnt out emotionally through like personal issues,
Yeah.
and I was burnt out then just in the sport. I was just a bit stagnant. It took a long time for me to realize I was like I wasn't happy doing it. So last year, around September, I took a break, went away with my friends, and then came home, and in like September 2022, and I knew then, I was like, I do want to do this, and now I'm in the emotional state to actually commit again to the level I want to be at, which is like, I want to break the Irish record in the next 2 years. And I know that I can, and I'm happy to train. I'm happy to make the sacrifices around going out. I'm happy to make the sacrifices about drinking. I'm happy to be like really regimented in my training. But I think as sports people, sometimes it's like a graph. It's like there's highs and lows, and you hit kind of the lowest point and you can kind of bounce back. So you go from like being this like on top of the world in your early 20s, and then it kind of like stagnant in my mid 20s. Now I'm kind of like more mature. I think I have a more mature outlook on it, and that's what led me to be like way happier in the sport now.
Do you think one of the major shifts, or the reason because the major shift happened, is that you accepted that you fell out of love with it?
Yeah, I wouldn't admit it to myself for so long, and by doing that, it was like mental clarity.
And now you're back into loving it, right?
I spoke to a friend of mine. I just said it to him, like, he's a runner, and he was like, take a break, move event, change event. And by just literally admitting on one phone call that I think I hate it right now and it's not making me happy, was like the push I needed to like change a lot of things in my outlook.
It sounds like when you started describing your journey, the whole emotional journey, like COVID kind of saved you, man. Because it helped you seeing what was life without running.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you came back into running, you managed to cope with both sides, right? The competitive side that runs, and the one with friends, hanging out,
Yeah.
chilling. And
Yeah,
that
like
part.
I don't know what it would have been like if COVID hadn't happened.
Probably you would have burned out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, we'll never know, but it probably could have happened. Like I was 2 major injuries back to back. And then like seeing life outside of athletics, yeah, it was great fun, but I just knew it wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. Like I have that drive in me, and like to compete at the highest level of the sport, and I'm like, by stepping away from it, I reinvigorated myself to do it again.
Do you think you're more relaxed now in a way that you know that if you hit rock bottom again, it will go up again? Instead of having this pressure of always going up, you know that maybe one day it'll go bad again, but you'll recover.
I suppose, yeah, I've thought of it in things can go bad, but I have like the mental resilience and the tools there to deal with it, to not let it get that bad ever again. And like, it sounds crazy to think like you're winning national titles while not being in love with the sport, but that sport, like if you look at like professional soccer players, you see like that's what the reason I always draw to that analogy is like soccer is still probably my number one love sport. Like I just love it. You look at players who are like in their 20s, they burst onto the scene, they're absolutely unbelievable, and then they just fade, and then they might come back and have like a resurgence in like their early 30s. Mm-hmm. It's because they've always have the ability, but it's about probably getting that maturity mentally and dealing with a lot of issues, and then allowing yourself then and unlocking the key to like the performances.
But always using this analogy for 1 sec, let's think about it. Like, isn't it a bit using the word love and passion a bit too much? Because in the end, if you treat it as work, because for them it's work,
Yeah,
either way, if you wake up and you're not feeling like playing football, I might wake up and not feeling like working, but I'm gonna go to work and do a good job. So isn't it also about your controlling your mental state and be more mature about it? So say, well, I might not be in love with playing football, but I still get paid. I can't let my team down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and do a good job. Isn't it the same?
Yeah, I
for-
suppose so. Yeah. Where athletics differs is though, see, it's unpaid.
Yeah,
Unless
you
you're
can't make a living out of it.
so it's
right?
like I'm training at the level of a professional athlete and I don't get paid for it.
Would you get paid if you were living in the UK or in other countries like France or just
Not really, no, because it's like the top 1% get the contracts from the shoe brands, and then if you're winning medals, yeah, your national like federational sponsor will give you like money every year, but
We're like national champion in Ireland, so
it's worth nothing.
because it's Ireland.
They want national title. They want international medals.
Uh-huh.
If you win an international medal or you're like top 5, you get the highest level.
Then JD Sports is gonna arrive and say Matthew Behan.
Yeah. Like I got support. I got support when I was younger from like Nike in England. They done a lot with like developing athletes. They wouldn't pay you, but they give you like gear for like 2 seasons, and like and that kind of gives you the spur. But that kind of, for me, I was like, yeah, I'm the dog's balls. Like I'm class. In the back of my head, I was like,
I
I'm
got the
so
merch.
good, and then I just didn't do anything good.
He just hyped you up.
Yeah.
I just got one question out of curiosity. You mentioned that you won the national title a couple of consecutive years, but does that mean that if the Olympics arrive, are they gonna call you? You're gonna
No.
be the guy to call? How does that work?
No, so like the Olympic qualification, there's just the Olympic councils would publish like the standards, so the time that you need to run to qualify, and then based off the times, say 10 people in the world achieve the time, the other say I think in hurdles there's 38 spaces or 42 spaces. The rest of the spaces are made up off the world rankings, but it's changed again. Each country will have like a kind of like a slower time, and you need to achieve that for your invitation to be considered.
Have you achieved that time?
No.
Okay, you're working on it.
Yeah, but like
Okay.
for me, I don't know. The Olympics has always been a dream, but I think part of my like journey and like realizing was like for me to qualify for the Olympics, I have to run like nearly 0.3 quicker than the Irish record, which is a bit crazy. I think I can park the Olympics in my own head and say I'm not writing myself off. Anything can happen.
Okay.
But like I'm not trying to get to that. I know my ability is probably like European final level, but I'm comfortable with that now.
So you're going like step by step.
Yeah.
It's European final level, then Olympics.
Maybe like I'll never count it out. Like anything can happen in the sport. Like, and hurdles is a technical event, so people hurdle into like their late 30s.
Okay.
Like I'm lucky that I'm in an event that like I'm still very young at 26 in it.
Technical, you mean you don't need that much stamina to, or
Yeah, or like it's techniques based. Like a lot of technique based events. Like say you get older and your speed starts to fade, you still have like, if you're racing 22-year-olds, you still have like a lot longer just doing that one technique than them, and that's worth a lot more.
there's only based on technique more than speed.
Yeah, like if your technique is like perfect, and even if you get a bit slower, if they're really fast and their technique's not great and they hit a hurdle, you can still beat them, which is awesome.
Is part of this technique at the end when you hit the finish line to go like this,
Yeah, get the dip,
Like they
dip
like
for the line.
like swimming in the air? 'Cause
Yes.
I've seen it in many
Do it
videos.
again then.
They swim in the everyone does it. Is part of the technique or
Yeah, so
Stretch
like
your neck.
it's just a dip for the line to try like get there
Okay.
before everyone. There's actually a little bit of like science behind it. The way the camera
He
is
does
set
with
up
the
on the
science.
finish line for the photo finish. There's a camera on either side.
Uh-huh.
So if like you're measured to where your shoulders and your chest break the line. That's where you're measured to. It doesn't matter if your hand goes across the line first. It's where your chest breaks the line. So if you're neck and neck with someone and you both do that, they'll go to whose shoulders are ahead. But if you kind of do that swim technique and get one shoulder over,
oh
and this happened to me. This actually made this
Won your
this
race.
one thing helped me not make a qual. I was not in a final because of this.
No.
The guy beside me twisted his right shoulder like that technique, and his right shoulder was only visible on one camera, and then there was no shoulder on the other camera. So you could see then my shoulders on both cameras, and because of that, they had to take the only point visible of him, which was his right shoulder, which looks like it's ahead of mine. So he got the final spot.
Was it ahead of yours?
I don't think so.
Kind of, man. From the way you described it, it sounds like it was.
I don't know.
You're still bitter.
I'm really bitter over it.
Man, what's your kind of improvement curve right now? Do you see yourself improving in the next years, or you kind of reached your peak and you're gonna keep working on keeping it high?
Definitely improve. I'm stronger than I ever have been.
Okay.
Like physically. I'm running better in training and more consistently than I have been. And this past indoor season that just finished was the most consistent I've been in times ever. And like they weren't like my fastest, but the consistency was like brilliant. So me and my coach are really happy where I am now. And obviously like having come through like the highs and lows of the sport, now I'm in like the best position to kind of restart. I feel like I've hit the reset switch.
Oh, great.
But without having to reset all the training I've done.
Yeah.
And over the past 3 months, like we've been working really hard, and like I'm training really well. My body's really good, and like my times are consistent. I think with the state I'm in now, I can definitely like improve.
What's the maximum age for running 110?
Doesn't matter.
Really?
Yeah, like there's
As long as you can keep your physique
hurdlers that I know like in 36,
Damn. Okay,
and they're
so
like
you got a
they're like
long
in
way.
world finals.
Yeah.
There's a guy, Kim Collins. He was 42 in the Olympics in the 100 meters.
Wow.
Like it's
Irish,
just about
right?
no.
I know.
No, he's from St. Kitts and Nevis, I think.
Oh, okay.
But like, it's all the longevity just comes from you just gotta look after yourself, and I think once you have the balance correct in life,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want in this sport.
Are you targeting one race that's coming in? You mentioned in the next 2 years.
Not in particular one competition. I think there's a couple of championships this year that I'd love to be on, like the European Team Championships. I'd love to get selected for that for Ireland, just to get back on the Irish squad and get back on that type of level. International races. That's quite doable. I just need to kind of open my season quite early this year and run the fastest time kind of everyone in Ireland and maintain number 1 ranking until selection.
Sounds so cool, man. Number 1 ranking.
When you do these things, you're super motivated. You think you might get this. Do you just sit down and target this? And are you targeting things from now in 2 years? Or?
Yeah, I think in 2 years, like I'm working, like I have a new race agent that I'm working with. He's a friend of mine, and he's helping me massively to get into like better quality races around Europe. I think now that I'm working full time, I have like the finance to back myself to like travel to the races that I need to get to the level I need to be at.
Because the Irish government does not fund you.
No, I was completely unfunded for the past few years.
Yeah.
I was very lucky. Like when I was like up until like 2019, I was supported. Like had access to like gym, physio, everything as much as I needed. But
It
no
was supported by Irish government.
Yeah, but no like money. But now that I can back myself, like he's helping me put together like a plan for like where I'm gonna race this summer. Because in 2 years I'll be targeting. I want to break the Irish record within the next 2 years.
That is your main.
That's my
your
goal.
main goal, yeah.
I've reevaluated like personally. I just want to break that Irish record.
What's the Irish record?
13.52.
Okay. And what's your personal
Oh
record?
no, 13. I think it's 13:30 actually. Is it? I actually can't remember. This is terrible. I can't remember my own national record.
You don't even know what you're aiming at.
It's my club record anyway. So
Oh,
if I
okay.
break my club record, I break the Irish
But
record.
you know your personal record?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're working with decimals here, right?
Yeah, but like
Ah.
when you work with decimals, it looks small, but it's huge in sprinting.
But like if you have the wind coming from your back, that helps you out.
Yeah, but only up to a certain point.
Oh.
If it's over 2 meters a second, the time's illegal. It's invalid. It doesn't count.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you want to break the record?
I think for me, I want to like, rather than saying like I made the Olympics and be the best in the world, I think it's more realistic for me to say I was the best Irish hurdler that there has been.
But why? Do you just want to prove that you're back?
No, to myself. I think, like, it sounds arrogant, but I know I have the ability to do it, and I don't see why not. And if I want to, I think if I want to exhaust my natural ability, it's to break the Irish record. Like
Is
it
there
sounds arrogant, but like that's just how
No,
I
no, it
think.
doesn't
That's
sound
how I
arrogant.
That's
think.
how you get there.
That's how I think about it. It's like
I don't think it sounds arrogant at all, man.
to break the Irish record would be me in mentally achieving like what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just hope that you're gonna keep that 80-20 ratio in your mind of being chill and not overworking yourself, arriving at a race with 80% preparation rather than feeling like you're 100% and burning yourself out.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's about learning that
Yeah.
balance as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
keep that balance. I think I have that now in terms of like, okay, there's lifestyle aspects that just can't go hand in hand with top level sport. That's fine. I think you gotta always realize like it's only one race at a time. And like you're there to have fun, like at the end of the day.
no,
Like I'm very lucky. I said it to one of my friends, he was like, oh, I'm so nervous. I was like, look, you're in a situation where you can travel the world and compete in what is an amateur sport for fun against some of the best people in the world. You're not like in a factory working 17 hours a day. It's like you're paying to basically go on holidays and do a sport. And he was like, yeah, that's the way I look at it now.
Yeah,
It's like I'm in such a lucky position to like compete in these competitions and like basically do my hobby at a really high level.
sounds pretty cool. How do people see you at work? Are they aware that you are this kind of guy that after work goes and trains to make this happen, to be the best Irish hurdle in the world? Or
Yeah, like I've recently changed jobs, so like not everyone knows, but like my manager and stuff know, and they're really cool about it. Like they're flexible. They were like, I was chatting to them about like if I needed to like work from somewhere else and train, they're totally okay with it. It's pretty cool. Like it's nice. And my old job was like really supportive of it if I needed time off to go to competition. So yeah, I suppose it's just about making them aware and letting them know it's not just like I'm going off for like something small. Like
Pints.
this is quite big.
What kind of lifestyle choices do you cut out completely now that you're extremely serious about it?
I've relatively
DMT.
stopped. DMT, yeah. Now, Joe, I've pretty much stopped drinking alcohol.
I'm off the shrooms, guys.
Yeah, I gave up the hardcore drugs.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
It's a joke.
Can we cut that?
Guys.
Edit
We'll-
that out. No, I've relatively stopped drinking now. Like I'm making the move to probably stop drinking completely. I don't know. It's just something in my own head.
Why? Because of the next day you're hungover, you can't
Yeah.
train.
The next day I'm hungover, I can't train. I hate being hungover in general. And I think, I don't know, there's just some switch in my head. Now this is probably a really good accountability now that's been
Oh,
recorded.
now you said it. Yeah, people are gonna listen to this, call you out on your bullshit,
Yeah,
man.
like I've cut down on drinking completely. Like I went 2 months without drinking there, from the end of Christmas till mid-February. I think I won't cut it out ever completely. Like I enjoy having it in a social occasion when I'm
you
outside of training and in my off season, or if I'm at like a social occasion, or I'm on a holiday with my girlfriend, or I'm out with my friends and I'm not competing for a while and I'm not training. But around,
You can have one drink. Oh, you don't have to go.
yeah, not go overboard. Like I'll be very,
Exactly.
like I'm always conscious of it. And then if I'm training the next day, I just won't. But I'm comfortable. Like I done it as a teenager. I can do it again now. I think as you get older, the less people really care either.
Is that even a thing? That like, does one drink really impact you if you are preparing for a race? I don't think so, right?
Not like there's science behind it. Like, but science
What's the
is
science behind
science
it?
is like super controlled environments. Like
I think it does from the science perspective, but I think it's more important from the mental
yeah,
perspective.
Dan's
If you
completely
don't
right.
have any
That's the
drink,
man.
you're serious about it. But if you have one, you already
You're keeping
release
yourself
some
loose.
pressure off. But
He's completely right though. Like there was actually a thread on Twitter a couple of months ago. This piece of literature came out saying basically like one drink's the equivalent of like not training for like a week or something. But all the athletes were like, for my own mental health, if I don't have a glass of wine with my dinner, I could probably just not do the sport. Like, I think there's like that whole, like the whole alcohol athletics thing is a bit crazy. But for me, like I just need to like cut it out so that I'm not like lethargic or.
Like, sorry if I ask the question, but do they ever catch people on? Do they ever test people or catch people on steroids or something?
that's so unrelated to the
No, because I'm
alcohol
thinking the
question.
opposite. I'm thinking
Okay,
maybe people
okay.
are over committing into the sport.
I think he's looking at me and saying, "This guy's so small."
Oh, that's how it is.
This guy's really big, man. No, but seriously, like
Yeah.
Rally Ireland maybe. But
Yeah, like
when we're
testing-
talking about European Championship, we're talking about Olympics. Olympics, we know already what happened
Yeah.
with Russia.
People are tested.
Like,
If you're part of like the funding pool of Athletics Ireland,
yeah.
you're tested.
So you are tested.
No, I'm not because I'm not
Oh.
funded. But like, out of competition testing is a certain pool of athletes, and yeah, they have to provide like whereabouts of where they are and
Yeah.
a window that they can be tested on any day, and like it's really stringent. Like, but rightly so. Like people like the whole debate wages all the time. Like, should we just ignore steroid use? But like,
Why?
that's I'm like, okay, yeah, they're gonna run unbelievable. But like the damage into people's health is just ridiculous.
But
Well-
I think these people don't do it for the health. Like,
They don't care. They're doing it for monetary gain.
Well, I mean, if you are dosing it rightly and you have specialists controlling it for you, there's not really much damage on your health.
But like they're even if you have a specialist controlling it, like
Like same thing
If
that
you
happened
take-
with cyclists during the Lance Armstrong's time, right? There was like this doctor in Modena that was regulating their steroids use and everything. Lance was the only one to overuse it, and that's why he got cancer many times. But the others, they're all clean.
yeah, but it's like they're clean now, but it's like when they're like 70 and 80.
Yeah.
Like if you're on steroids, like if you take testosterone or tren or anything, like
I mean,
yeah, your
trend
muscle.
is a bit weird for running, no?
But it's like
Messes up
but it's like your muscle mass is getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. These aren't like fine tuned compounds. These are like people probably saying this guy knows a lot. Just to carry, I have a bachelor's in sports science, so I
yeah,
no,
clearly.
but
that's
I
why
mean,
I know. That's why I know what I'm talking about.
I feel like guys that are into gym or sports overall right now are starting to be more aware. Like Dan and I
of what?
of like steroids use and what kind of steroids are out there. Like there's a guy.
This guy, Matthew, started looking at me, man.
He on trend? Is he,
He
on
doesn't
trend?
take.
He's kind of big, man.
No, I know, but I think
But
like
you
You
know,
look
everyone's
a bit
videos,
angry. You
the
look a bit
whole world-
angry, like.
Look at his jawline, man. No, but like there's more plates, more dates. Which
Yeah, he
Exactly.
promotes
yeah,
it,
he
and he's like,
promotes it,
he's like,
he talks about it. So of course I'm gonna be
Same.
aware. Although I
yeah,
I shouldn't be.
it's everywhere though.
It's everywhere
And,
right now.
Like that's a massive interest of mine outside of sport. It's just like sports science and like anything to do with
Peptides
the gym and
stuff.
sport, like everything around it. And like more plates, more dates. Like okay, he's a really informative platform on YouTube to educate people on steroid use. But at the end of the day, these compounds, okay, they're gonna impact your muscles and make them bigger. But like it's not a magic wand on the muscles. Like you have to like testosterone is involved in the growth of pretty much everything. What's this doing to your heart and liver and kidneys? Like that's the issue.
yeah.
Like and like a lot of the times the steroid use isn't for people in sports. It's like guys going to the gym to look bigger on a holiday. Like
I've seen that
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
Twitter
that's
where
stupid.
like I don't know who it was from which country, but they take steroids or whatever, go to some island in Spain and to it's just this Love Island.
Love Island.
Yeah, for example, they did I haven't watched it, but on Twitter it was a thread where they said when they arrive, they're jacked, and like 3 weeks after, you see them like super puffed up.
So they're just buffing up to go.
like they take stuff, but while they're on the set, they can't. So like 3 weeks, 4 weeks after they arrive, they're
Oh,
completely off. So you see how it's not natural at all.
Yeah. I think in the sports, it's like for performance, but it's like it's just to win. Like people are just doing it to win. They just want to win,
Yeah,
and they're doing anything to win money. And like it's in more developed countries like Ireland, there's way more testing because they don't stand for it.
Yeah.
And like it's in and out of competition. So like everyone can be tested in competition. Like there's doping control at every meet. Like I've been tested at meets and like it's like very straightforward.
But
Like
then
it's
what
just
are you
like the top
testing
four
for?
would just be put any banned substances. So there's like a
But then you got peptides that are kind of across the lines.
What? Explain that.
Well,
How are you so good at this?
because I
You researched.
I researched a little bit.
he's really good at controlling his own.
I did a bit of research. So peptides, man, are still there where they haven't been flagged out yet. So you could technically use them, and unless they test for them, they're not gonna appear in your charts.
What does a peptide do?
That's a big like TRT apparently is a peptide.
Oh, okay.
So unless you test for TRT, it's not gonna pop in your charts, and it's not really
Oh, I
considered as a
understand.
steroid. 'Cause
So
it's
they
not flagged-
specifically
It's
test
not
for
flagged
that.
as Trembolone. It's not flagged as Winstrol and all this other stuff. So Yeah, technically depends what you're testing for. But still, I think like if you are an athlete preparing for a competition,
Yeah.
mentally you should be in the state where, well, I don't want to cheat. I want to win with my means. And I feel like it's such an insult for people like you who are putting a lot of work in, are clean guys, maybe that have that extra pint on a Saturday and then go and win the race on Sunday. While these guys are just cheating and using roids.
Yeah. I think it is a massive can of worms though, but I think it
Yeah.
opens up into like, I think even people's social situations would play into it. It's like, for me, cheating for monetary gain doesn't really come into it because I'm like, I have a job.
Yeah.
I'm educated. I come from a really good background. I can get a job somewhere. Like these guys, this might be their only way out of a social situation. They're gonna do everything to get out of it.
I haven't thought about that.
But I think like I like the anti-doping debate. Like in athletics, it's obviously one of the most tested sports in the world, and swimming, and like in competitions, like P tests, but out of competitions, blood tests. So like if they turn up at your door, they take a blood sample, and that's where they catch all these peptides. And then like your samples are held and like frozen so that they can be retrospectively tested then for like newer, more advanced tests or newer compounds that come onto the list. But I think then the can of worms that just opens us up is like, oh, like it's just, where do you draw the line then of like, where do you draw the line between like supplements and steroid and
Yeah.
Well,
It's
what
just-
supplements are okay?
so many that are fine.
Yeah, obviously, like creatine.
Creatine's
is okay.
creatine's fine.
Creatine's fine, right?
Creatine's the most studied supplement in the world. Like creatine's totally fine. It's a natural compound. It's in meat.
What's
Yeah.
a supplement that people think is not okay, but is actually okay?
They think it's not okay.
That overall people like us,
I think a lot of people think creatine's still a steroid.
Oh yeah. They think that is a steroid.
Oh,
but it's actually normal,
I
yeah.
remember
meat.
I remember like suggesting creatine at home. My mom was like, "What?" I was like, "It's not steroid. It's
That's
in
everyone's mom.
it's in beef." Yeah, it's like you're taking whey protein.
Mom is literally in that meat.
I'm
right now.
injecting whey.
When I started taking creatine, my mom also looked at that and it looks very suspicious,
Yeah.
right? I don't take it anymore, but when I started going to the gym, it's like white powder for who
Yeah, was it
doesn't know is
monohydrate?
What?
Was it monohydrate?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, then you became big all of a sudden. And your mom was like, "Are you on steroids?"
No, no. It was I don't remember, but no, it looks suspicious.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Nah.
Well, that creatine, yeah, classifies like that.
Any other supplement you think?
Not really. They're
It's
usually
too
like
good.
they're usually like hyper specific, so like
Yeah.
people, the general population wouldn't know them. Like a big one is usually like that people would be banned is actually one that's really popular right now that like a couple of athletes have been banned is SARMs.
What is that?
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, specific androgen receptor. Is it
It's
specific
like-
androgen receptors? So they're like hyper focused like androgen. So it's like not just like taking it, the analogy. More Plays More Dates actually spoke about it. Was if you take testosterone, it's like hitting your body with a hammer and expecting it to work. This is like a fine needle, like going only to the muscles. And there's like athletes been
What
banned
does it do? Like promotes muscle growth.
muscle growth, and then there's like ones that are like IGF-1, so like growth
But wait,
factor.
it's not a roid. It's actually clean.
When
No,
they
no,
when
no.
it came,
These are roids. I'm not saying these are clean.
like
These are like full blown steroids.
How they label it to sell it is that it's not steroids, but they work like steroids. So in a way, how they label it to sell it's like they're like clean steroids, where you don't have to go through needle and everything, and it's not as bad as steroids. It's like clean. That's like how they sell it.
But then, like when you get injured, right, and you're off the pool of testing or stuff like that, and you can just work in the gym on your rehab, are you allowed to take this sort of stuff?
No.
Because
Because
really?
these like athletes are injured, they're still part of the pool of testing. But like there's medications that are like on the list for like monitoring. So like they'll monitor use and check for like patterns of abuse in athletes. And then move to either ban them or just remove them from the watch list and not look at them again.
Man, having this sports science degree of yours, like it really helps you out with the running discipline and everything, because it's like having an
Yeah.
extra.
Like I'm able to program my own gym training now
Yeah.
without a coach. I'm able to like
You're really
I
knowledgeable.
can read like the world anti-doping list and I understand exactly like why they're banned, what each list is.
Do you know a lot about nutrition too?
Yeah, I don't have any like formal like degree in it, but like we had a lot of modules in nutrition and like just I always like interested in nuggets, especially when you're doing it from like a sports nutrition standpoint. Like I basically picked sports science because my degree went hand in hand then with what I was doing, and it just benefited me massively.
Yeah.
How's your current diet look like?
Good. Like I've dialed it in massively this year.
You set your own macros and everything? Do you
Not
count?
really. I don't count anymore. It just got a bit too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a bit. I don't like counting macros in like sport based. Maybe if you're like doing like competitive bodybuilding, you need to. For me, it's like I know what my daily calories looks like in food, and like you train so much, like you're relatively fine. But yeah, like I'd always like prepare my lunches for the week and prepare my breakfast, and then at least I have like 2 consistent ones, and then that means I can kind of do what I want with my dinner and like go out or change it up, and because it gets very boring if you're prepping everything, and like it can lead to a lot of like eating disorders, and like eating disorders are rampant in track and field, especially
Really?
in female athletes. Yeah, it's crazy.
Because you're trying to keep a certain weight and not go over it.
Yeah, and they're trying to like look lean, and like part of me, like there's a lot of it, like the crazy stuff that goes hand in hand with track, where I'm just so like I'm tired of all that shit, and I'm not bothered with any of it anymore.
And one thing to notice then, look at his wrists in comparison to Cam's. He doesn't have any Whoop, no Garmin.
He's
nothing.
chilling.
This boy's chilling. You
I
know?
don't have my Whoop or my Garmin because it's Sunday.
Oh, really? So you actually worried?
I have an Apple Watch. That's it.
Oh, okay.
And that's just to track my workouts, and I don't even look. That's more that I know that I hit my exercise for the day.
Your move, your stand, yeah. But usually, like when you are on a track field.
No, I wouldn't have a Whoop. I was gonna get a Whoop, and I was like, I don't want it.
Yeah, you don't want the kind of analytics.
The way I look at it is, there was guys in 1970 and 1980 running faster than me,
Jesse Owens.
and they smoked, and just ate well and trained, and didn't have any of this stuff. If they could do it, I can.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of like, this sounds so bad coming from a sports scientist, but I think there's an awful lot of overcomplication of everything. Like, yes, these overcomplications for certain people will help them keep pushing the sport to the next level, and like the world records will go. But if you want to get to a certain level, like, you don't have to overcomplicate it.
Man, that's something worth noticing. Because have you seen the video of Andre DeGrasse trying Jesse Owens shoes over 100 meters?
No, I actually haven't seen that.
Man, it's such a cool video because like they take Jesse Owens shoes. He won the 100 meters in 1936.
Yeah, in Berlin.
And Andre DeGrasse, which is like the same level as Usain Bolt. Can we say that?
No.
No.
No one's on Usain Bolt.
Almost.
He's
it's like
he's
second.
in the top 0.5% of sprinters
Yeah, like
in
if
the world.
Usain Bolt didn't exist, he would be the guy though. No, really?
No.
Yeah, he always arrived second place after him though.
Nah, but he had a Safa Powell and Johan Blake.
Okay, well, I trust your judgment.
I'd say he's top.
But it's a
He's
great
top
runner.
10. He's top 10.
Top 10. Okay. Well, he tried Jesse Owens shoes and he couldn't make Jesse Owens record because those are pretty shitty shoes and the terrain was different. They had
Yeah, it
to
was
dig.
cinder tracks. Like,
Yeah, they had to dig their own things for starting. So yeah, I feel like these overcomplications that Maddie is actually mentioning is quite a good point. It's like the Brazilians in football, man. They used to like play in the beach barefoot and then like you have guys in Europe with the super fancy shoes and they can't manage to do the same shit that the Brazilians do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
Also, if you look at bodybuilding, for example, like all the big ones now say that Arnold, he's the biggest one because at his time there was nothing. Like he just ate with no counting calories, just pumped iron but didn't count anything, no science, nothing. He got bigger.
was he juicing though?
Oh yeah, but no, but I'm saying the ones now are doing it too, but they
it's all-
recognize. Of course, they're juicing. Everyone is juicing, and probably.
But like, look, at the end of the day, like a lot of these guys are sponsored by brands, and their only role as like is like to basically sell something. So they have to overcomplicate it to sell the thing on social media.
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, totally.
But yeah, there's a bit of overcomplication, I think, when it comes to like diet and weight and track and field. I think like a lot of people are like, well, what's your optimal race weight? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I like this point, Matty. And probably
I prefer to keep things a lot simpler for my own, but that's just me personally. Like that's just from my head. If my training's really dialed in, and like my like kind of like rest is really dialed in, and my like mental state, and even down like I'm comfortable in what I'm eating, I'm happy.
Because otherwise, they'll get too much into your head.
Yeah, like I always now like I don't count, but I count my protein. I make sure like to be getting in like what I want in protein, because like it's the most important.
1 gram per pound.
Pretty much, yeah. About 150 grams a day, I say.
The gym bro talk.
Yeah, this is becoming a gym bro podcast.
Yeah. Man, probably before we wrap this up, I do have a question, at least on my side then, which is, so let's say that you get your European Championship, your appearance at the Olympics, you break the record, you wrap up your career into running. Do you see yourself becoming a coach, becoming like a presence in Ireland for running after that? Because you got your degree and probably you have an interest in growing new talents. Is that something that is in like your perspective?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I've thought about it a lot recently. Like, I didn't really have that like push to coach when I was a younger athlete, but now I definitely do. Like, there's younger athletes coming up in my own club, and I like giving them advice, and I can see people improving, and like, yeah, I definitely like. I'd love to give back. Like my coach did it. She was like Irish record holder, and she came back to the sport to coach us. And yeah, I definitely would love. I definitely love to move into that and help other athletes, because it helps you keep connected to the sport as well, and like give back to it and keep growing the community. Like if it was the case of like everyone who does well just kind of leaves it and the sport kind of stagnates and goes nowhere. So yeah, it's something I'd definitely be interested in.
I have one last question on my side too. I've been wanting to ask you since we talked about this. Remember your coach that told you once money gets involved, sponsorship, you'll lose the fun, and you said no way, and you lost it. Now you hit the low times at that time. Now, if you could look back and tell one person with that age, the ones you're coaching now at the moment, maybe they asked you, what should we do to not hit that low end like you did and not lose the fun? What would you say?
Stop taking yourself so seriously, and then stop taking everything to do with like the accessories of the sport so seriously. Like, just focus on the race as like it's something fun. Like, you're here for a reason, and that's usually because you enjoy it. And if not, step away for a little while. If you step away for a little while, you can avoid the really bad points. But obviously, like, it's hard to step away because it's, oh, I'm gonna get worse. But I think if I'd probably tell someone to either stop taking themselves so seriously, or step away. And that's the way to avoid it.
And sometimes maybe it's necessary to hit the low ends too.
Sometimes, yeah, you have to know how bad it can get for it to get better.
Amazing.
Man, this guy dropping advices here. The good ones. I like you.
Thank you, man.
No problem.
Thank you, Matty.
Look, lads, thanks for having me, and I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah. You actually did a podcast already, and we can notice that because you're quite well conditioned, man. You can hold the mic quite well.
Well, I've been listening to you. Well, you know,
This might become your podcast shit.
He's taking over.
I think for people who don't know, like, I've known Lorenzo since we were in college, and he knows I can just talk for hours and hours. I think
man,
everyone knows me.
I'm glad. It was really nice to have you. Thank you.
No, it's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.